Live from America's heartland, this is the Daily Truth Report with your host, Noah Christopher.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. And on the screen is a new guest, someone I'm very excited to have on the show. Followed his career for several years. Sheriff Mack is joining us on our show. He's the former sheriff of Graham County, Arizona. A long career in law enforcement. Historic Supreme Court win that he was involved with back in the 1990s. He's the founder of the CSPOA, which is the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about a lot of things today. The author of, I think, 6 books I counted, maybe. I don't want to shortchange you, Sheriff Mack, but really excited to have him on the show. Sheriff Richard Mack, thanks for joining us.
Well, Noah, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be with you. And I wrote 8 books, but 2 of them are out of print right now. So maybe I need to resurrect those and keep them handy. But marketing 6 books is plenty.
yeah, that's very good. Well, very impressive. Just a tremendous career, but more important is the impact you're having on America and what you're doing to try and save this republic. So really excited to have you on. I've said a lot of times over the years, it really seems like the local sheriffs, the county sheriffs, are one of our last lines of defense in upholding the Constitution, even reading and understanding the Constitution. But yeah. I'd really like to talk with you about that. I know that's a big part of what you do, but I'd love to just turn it over to you. I mean, we're in unprecedented times here in this country with the 2020 election and then 2024 coming up. We've got election issues, but just in general, tell me about the power of the local sheriff's office and what can be done there.
Well, when I was sheriff in Graham County, that's southeast Arizona. In case nobody knows, my hometown was Safford, Arizona, in that same county, and I sued the federal government. And it went all the way to the United States Supreme Court, and we won. Sheriff Prince from Montana and I did against the same onerous, unconstitutional law or legislation. Was really never law, but known as the Brady bill. Mm-hmm. And Congress, this was the first time Congress and the White House promulgated legislation that commandeered the office of sheriff for federal bidding with a threat of arrest if we failed to comply. So I'm really shocked that thousands of sheriffs didn't do this. There's almost 3,100 sheriffs in America, and only 7 sheriffs did this lawsuit and stood their ground on this fight. And if we hadn't done it, all the sheriffs today would be answering to the federal government. In contrast, we stopped a lot of gun control associated with the Brady Bill movement. There were 5 Brady Bill laws scheduled to be passed, or bills, I should say, one after another till after 5 years, they were going to completely gut and destroy the Second Amendment. And so we saved the Second Amendment. We bought it probably 25, 30 years because now they're going right back to it, what they were doing before. But the sheriffs did all this. And now look at what sheriffs have done in the United States during the COVID-19 mandates. Mm-hmm. There were at least 550, maybe 650 sheriffs across the country, even in California, even in New York, and lots of them even in Illinois. Chicago really being the only real problem child there in the state of Illinois. So what did these sheriffs do? Well, they put some of their own governors on notice. They put attorneys general on notice. Mm-hmm. They put other agencies on notice. Some of them made arrests regarding election fraud. Sheriff Wilmot in Yuma, Arizona did. And the sheriff of San Juan County, California, arrested a city councilman for election fraud. Mm. And so anybody could look those stories up. And we just wish that more sheriffs would have taken stronger action and done investigations on election fraud in every county just to make sure that there wasn't any. But there was widespread election fraud. And there's no question that there's been tremendous amounts of evidence put forth. But the talking points for the national media and the Democrats is that there was no evidence whatsoever. and that just simply is not true. There were numerous arrests, and now some judges have even declared some elections null and void.
Mm-hmm.
Saw election improprieties. And so, it's really scary that we, the people, have so much doubt now if our votes really count, and if something or someone else is actually fabricating those votes and stealing from us our number one stewardship and responsibility as Americans in this republic, that we choose who represents us in government at the locals and state and federal level, national level. And so it's really scary. What do we do about that? And we do have the solution. It's in our name, Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association. And we hope that every sheriff will implement safeguards in their counties to make sure that there is no cheating, and to make sure that the people are feeling safe and comfortable in voting, and that our votes really count. I think that's one of the most important things about our constitutional republic that we own. That is ours. And the sheriff is such a powerful position because he's the only elected. He's appointed by, for, and of the people to protect us, to keep the peace, and to make sure our rights are not being violated by anyone. And that includes other government bureaucrats, federal agents.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that ties into your incredible win with the Brady bill. Obviously a massive violation of the 10th Amendment there. But the problem is I don't even think if I asked people off the street, they could tell me what the 10th Amendment says. But the strength and the power of the states versus the federal government. And it really seems to me, Sheriff Mack, that the more we localize power instead of centralizing it, the better off we are. So, local sheriffs, local police force, not federal. That's certainly the way our country was set up, and we need to get back to that. And that's a big part of what you're doing. But tell me specifically.
What you've just explained is absolutely correct.
Yeah. Well, it needs to be understood more. If our founding fathers saw how big the federal government has gotten, they would just be appalled. I mean, they wouldn't recognize it. Number one, I mean, they would be asking,
why have we sat by and watched this?
Yes.
Instead of taking action. But I believe that our organization, cspoa.org, that we do have a peaceful and effective solution to do just that. But it's a very bold solution, and that is that the sheriffs will get involved and put the federal government and state governments on notice. There's a few things you're going to stop doing in our county, and this is very real. I mean, let me tell you what I did when I was sheriff. Besides suing the federal government and winning a case at the U.S. Supreme Court, I also had a confrontation with the EPA and Army Corps of Engineers. And we had a bridge washout in the northeast part of the county that farmers and ranchers use frequently to take their kids to school. Without that bridge, they have a 26-mile commute. With the bridge, they have maybe 2 or 3 miles. And so the bridge washed out, and the Army Corps of Engineers and EPA came in and said that the county could not touch the bridge until they had conducted their environmental impact studies.
Of course.
Well, we weren't putting in a new bridge; we were just fixing the old one. But this is government red tape for you at its zenith. And 10 months later, they still weren't done. And so the farmers and ranchers were blaming the county commissioners, and the sheriff doesn't have anything to do with fixing bridges, okay, except maybe for directing traffic or whatever. But at this point, the county commissioners were so upset with the federal government, and they were getting so many complaints from citizens, that they voted unanimously to fix the bridge, the federal government notwithstanding. And so this is how stupid the federal government is. They came to a board meeting and threatened to arrest the county commissioners.
Wow.
And I'm right there. I'm at the meeting. And they said, we are going to charge your county $35,000 a day for every day you might be in violation. We're going to arrest you, and we're going to arrest the maintenance workers. So I wasn't involved in any of this at all until that moment. And so I called them into my office, both EPA and Army Corps of Engineers, and there were several of them. And I said, look, I don't know if you guys know this, but I'm already suing the federal government. They said, yeah, we know. And I said, I try to get along with everybody, and I'm a pretty nice guy and easygoing. But let me tell you, I am the sheriff here, and you have no arrest authority. You have no police authority. You have no business being here and threatening to arrest county commissioners or maintenance workers. We're not going to pay any fine. And a fine means that we have to have a hearing. You cannot take our property or our money without due process of law. And none of this, you just capriciously throwing this number out that we're going to pay $35,000 a day. That's ridiculous. And so I said, just so you know, if you try to arrest anyone, I will arrest you. And so I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know if they were going to call in the FBI SWAT team or whatever, but I was going to stand firm. But the next day, they left town, never came back. We fixed the bridge, and we didn't pay a dime in fines. Nobody went to jail, and our citizens were finally served after the federal government got the hell out of the way.
Oh, that's incredible. Wow. That's, there really, correct me if I'm wrong, but there really was never intended to be a federal police power, was there? It's supposed to be local.
Very, very little. But yeah, 99% of law enforcement is local and state-based. Now, if you look at the Constitution, Article 1, Section 8, and then over in Section 4, Article 4, there's 5 law enforcement authorities directed at the federal government. So let's name those real quickly, shall we?
Sure.
Okay. Treason. Don't you wish the FBI would investigate treason?
They're a little busy with everything else, but that would sure be nice.
With all the hit, all the hit squads they are against politicians that agree with the current administration.
Yes.
Yeah. The other one, or the other ones, counterfeiting. Counterfeiting is a federal offense. Okay. Felonies committed on the high seas or piracies. So the states are not in charge of patrolling the high seas. The federal government is supposed to do that too.
Sure.
Then laws against nations or treaties. So if a citizen goes into Canada, violates a treaty that we have with them, that's a federal offense. The last one is Article 4, Section 4, is they are to protect our borders from invasion. That is a law enforcement duty. That is against the law, and they are to prevent that. Bang up job they've done there, huh?
Right.
So those are the 5. And after that, though, you have to refer to the 10th Amendment, as you alluded to earlier. The 10th Amendment says, and that's what we sued on. We sued on the 10th Amendment because we said you have no authority to be telling sheriffs what to do. We don't work for you. You can't hire me. You can't fire me. And so I sued on that basis, 10th Amendment. Even though it was a gun control law, it was the 10th Amendment could protect the Second Amendment by exerting our authority as a state. And so we finally got that going, and the NRA helped us with the case, and it went all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said, yeah, the sheriffs are correct. They even called us the CLEOs, the chief law enforcement officer. So if somebody's wanting to see some documentation somewhere that the sheriffs are indeed the chief law enforcement officer of the county and in this country, look at the Brady bill itself and look at the decision. And I have the decision right here. Every American, read that title, Supreme Court Case for State Sovereignty. You can get these books. Now they fit in your pocket, your shirt pocket, but when you look them up on the internet, on our website, they look real big because it's an advertisement, but they're very small. It's only 16 pages, very thin, but everyone should have these in your home. Let's see if it's on there. Keep going. There it is, right in the middle at the second row. Yeah, it's white. with the state flags on it. So, and right next to it is the book, The County Sheriff, America's Last Hope. You want to get something just to the right of it. If you want to get something good for your sheriff, get him a copy of the Supreme Court decision and the book, The County Sheriff, America's Last Hope. And every citizen should read these before giving them to your sheriff. You must know what the sheriff should know and what he should be doing because he works for you.
Boy,
And this is the most powerful 10th Amendment decision in the history of our country. And everybody should be aware of this and educated as to what this really did for America. It's the most powerful 10th Amendment decision in the history of America.
I love that idea, and it's great stuff. I'm going to suggest that everybody buy yourself a copy and then buy a copy to give to your local sheriff. A lot of good sheriffs out there, but maybe a lot that haven't heard your message or just haven't taken the time to do the research. So
no, they need to be educated on this case, and they need to be educated about federalism, and they need to be educated about state sovereignty and about the Constitution itself. Mm-hmm. Do the sheriffs understand why they take an oath of office? Do the sheriffs understand their role in preserving our constitutional republic and what their responsibility is to the American citizens in their county regarding that very principle? And I tell you what, I honestly feel that most sheriffs are good people, but they have not had the training that is vital for every sheriff and peace officer in this country. And obviously we offer that.
Yeah, that's very good. You can't defend and uphold the Constitution if you don't know what it says.
You can't defend the rights of the people if you don't know what they are.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Come on, let's get going.
Well, listen, Sheriff Mack, love what you're doing. We've got your website up on the screen there. Everyone can go to it, CSPOA, and that's .org.
And there's one other thing. Everybody can join the posse, and we need that really bad. Our country needs it. You need it. And we do training every Wednesday. Tomorrow we have training at 12:30 Pacific time, 3:30 Eastern. We do a webinar every week, and we train people how to work with your sheriff and help him create a posse, and you become part of his posse. That's all constitutional. It's all peaceful. This is not raising armies against the federal government or anything else. It's providing a protection and a Minuteman organization, if you will, for the sheriff to be able to rely on in cases of emergency or natural disasters or whatever might be going on in his county where he needs extra manpower. And this is just something that has always been there. The law in Arizona that the sheriff has that lawful authority to call out every able-bodied citizen. And we need to start working with the sheriff. He works for us. Let's partner with the sheriff and make sure that we're making our county safer.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. All right. Well, that's right on the top of the screen, cspoa.org. And then there's the join button at the top. So that's for everybody. You don't have to be a sheriff to do that. You don't have to be in law enforcement.
Every citizen should join that. And you not only help keep us funded, and it's very inexpensive. It's like $11 a month. Right now we have a special, our Spirit of 1776 special. It's $76 for a 1-year membership. That's like what, $6.50 a month.
Yeah, that's great.
And folks, we are the only peaceful and effective solution remaining in our country. Join that holy cause. Become a part of that. Help us help you. This will bless each of us as we move forward to save our Constitution and save America. America is on her deathbed, and we had better get busy to save her before it's too late.
Well, Sheriff, we've only got a few minutes left, but that's what I want to ask you about as we wrap this up here. First of all, it's been great having you on the show. Thank you so much for joining us. Love to have you back on again soon. But before we wrap up, so people can join the posse, probably a lot of stuff that you teach in there. But, we have an election coming up in 4 or 5 months from now. That's coming up quick. The last one was obviously a disaster. Your home state is ground zero, along with a couple others for very problematic things happening. What are the practical things? And again, I know maybe you teach it in the posse, but what are the practical things people can be doing now, or that the sheriffs can do to really make sure this thing is on the up and up when the election comes around in November?
Well, you want to talk to your sheriff about that. And if there's going to be any security applied at the polling places, and you want to talk to the county commissioners and say, what are we doing as a county to make sure that these ridiculous drop boxes are either not being used or that there's actually security on them? Also, have the county recorder, whoever, some counties have SOEs. What does a SOE stand for? Special Operations of Elections. Anyway, the person that's in charge, Florida has those, I know, but sometimes it's usually the county recorder. But we've got to go get to our elected officials and say, what are we doing to safeguard our elections? Show me, take a tour. What are we doing to make sure that the computers are working and that we're doing some way to hand count to verify a certain percentage? This just hand count 2%. And see if they coincide with the percentages that are being spit out by the computers. If those tabulations do not coincide, you know you got a serious problem.
Mm-hmm.
But if you hand count and they're very close, or they're exactly the same, then you've got success in your county in making sure your election was integrous.
What's the best, if you had a magic wand in your opinion? Is it just 1 day voting, in person, paper ballot? What's the ideal situation?
Paper ballots and 1 day voting only.
Yeah.
The longer you have people give them chances to cheat, they will.
Mm-hmm.
And the Dominion machines or any of the other machines to say they cannot be hacked is a flat out lie. They can be, and they have been. And any computer in the country, even the most secure ones we've had at the Pentagon and other places, the largest companies in the world, have been hacked by some 15-year-old somewhere. So no, our duty is to make sure that they're safe and secure, not to dwell on talking points.
Yeah, no, that's very good. Well, that's why we wanted to have you on today, Sheriff Richard Mack. It's been a pleasure. I love what you're doing. We're going to get the word out to everybody that we can about your organization. It's the cspoa.org. You're doing great work. You've done great work your whole career. Thank you for your service and for continuing the good fight even right now.
Thank you much, Noah. It's a pleasure to be with you. Let's do it again.